Across the world, there are places where history lingers like a shadow, places where the air feels heavier, where time seems frozen, and where stories say the past continues to echo long after life has moved on. Ancient fortresses, abandoned islands, forgotten prisons, and landscapes steeped in legend. Some of these locations witness moments of struggle, fear, or sorrow. Others absorb centuries of human emotion, and many claim that something was left behind. Today, we're exploring four of the most haunted locations on Earth, traveling across continents, cultures, and centuries to uncover the real history behind their chilling reputations. From royal towers to cursed forests, from crumbling fortresses to grand hotels with too many unexplained encounters, these places share a strange quality. People visit them and leave believing they weren't truly alone. So settle in, turn down the lights, and take a journey into the world where history and haunting collide. Number 1. The Tower of London, England. 1,000 years of power, fear, loyalty, rivalry, and deep human emotion are carved into the stones of the Tower of London. Built in 1078 by William the Conqueror, the tower was meant to symbolize royal strength. But over the centuries, it became far more than that. What began as a fortress slowly turned into a place that held political prisoners, carried out severe punishments, and guarded secrets of the monarchy. Kings, queens, nobles, and soldiers all passed through its gates. Some walked out. Many did not. Because of its long and sometimes tragic history, the tower is often described as one of the most supernaturally active locations in the world. The tower wasn't just a prison. It was a stage where the struggles of the English crown played out. When rulers were challenged, when rival families fought for the throne, or when political decisions led to downfall, the tower was almost always involved. Its walls have seen royal disputes, betrayals, dramatic downfalls, and great sorrow. And among all the stories, none is more famous than that of Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII. Accused of crimes historians now widely agree were politically motivated, she met her fate in 1536. Visitors and guards alike have described seeing a woman in Tyrian clothing walking quietly through the corridors, sometimes appearing near the chapel where she was laid to rest, sometimes drifting through the Tower Green. Many describe her figure as calm, peaceful, almost as though she's simply continuing a walk she once took in life. Over the centuries, countless stories have emerged from guards, historians, nighttime watchmen, and visitors. A headless woman gliding down long hallways. Children in old-fashioned clothing appearing in the darkest corners of the tower. Chill spots where the air turns cold enough to make people stop in place. Soft footsteps heard behind visitors when no one is nearby. A tall, armor-clad figure patrolling the battlements in the early morning light. And one of the most unusual reports, the ghostly form of a bear believed to originate from the royal menagerie that once lived inside the tower walls. Even the tower's ravens have a legend of their own. The story says, if the ravens ever leave the tower, the kingdom will fall. So today, the ravens are protected residents, cared for and watched over, symbols of a superstition that never faded. Historians believe the tower's supernatural reputation isn't just due to a few dramatic events, but rather the accumulation of centuries of intense emotion, fear, ambition, triumph, and tragedy all soaked into the same stone walls. When you walk to the tower today, you're not just walking through a historical landmark. You're stepping into 1,000 years of human stories, layered on top of one another. Some may be long forgotten, but others, according to visitors, still make themselves known. Number 2, Aokigahara Forest, Japan. At the base of Mount Fuji lies a forest unlike any other. Dense, quiet, and almost unnervingly still, Aokigahara has been shaped by centuries of volcanic activity and Japanese folklore. The ground, formed from hardened lava, absorbs sound, creating an atmosphere where even footsteps seem muted. To many, the forest feels peaceful. To others, it feels unnaturally silent. In Japanese tradition, forests often hold spiritual meaning. They are seen as places where the human world and the spirit world may overlap. But Aokigahara carries a heavier layer of folklore. It is associated with yurei, spirits tied to emotional pain or unresolved feelings. For hundreds of years, stories have described the forest as a place where people felt overwhelmed by sorrow or isolation. Over time, Aokigahara gained a reputation as a place of tragedy, and with that reputation came stories of lingering spiritual presence. Because of the region's history, local officials have placed signs along some trails with messages of encouragement and reminders that each life is valuable. These signs serve both as guides and as expressions of care for visitors. Even trained explorers say Aokigahara feels unusual, as though the forest is watching, listening, or shifting around them. Trails can twist unexpectedly, and the thick canopy makes it easy to lose a sense of direction. People who walk the trails report experiences, such as whispers drifting through the trees, even when there is no wind, figures standing between trunks that disappear when approached, footsteps that seem to follow hikers, stopping when they turn around, sudden feelings of being watched, even in daylight, echoes that don't seem to match any known source. Rescue workers have reported hearing distant voices, or calls that lead them nowhere. Others claim the forest can affect mood, creating a sense of heaviness, melancholy, or confusion, even among those who entered feeling perfectly calm. Aokigahara is not just a place with a supernatural reputation. It is part of Japan's cultural tapestry. It is shaped by folklore, history, and the human experiences tied to it. The forest is undeniably beautiful, filled with natural arches, moss-covered roots, and winding trails. But its silence, its density, its long association with sorrow, these elements combine into a place where many people feel the boundary between the physical world and the unseen becomes thinner. For some, Aokigahara is simply a forest shaped by volcanic rock. For others, it is a landscape that holds memories and whispers them back to anyone who enters. Number 3, Poveglia Island, Italy. A small patch of land floating between Venice and Lido, Poveglia Island looks peaceful from a distance. Green trees, broken stone walls, and quiet water surround it. But the moment you learn its history, that calm beauty takes on an entirely different meaning. Many call Poveglia one of the most unsettling places in Europe. Not because of monsters or legends, but because of very real historical events that left deep emotional scars on the island. In the 1700s, Venice was struck by repeated outbreaks of disease. Large cities with dense populations had few options for controlling the spread, so the government established quarantine islands. Poveglia became one of the most active of these stations. Tens of thousands of people, men, women, children, sailors, travelers, the elderly, the young, were brought here during the outbreaks. Some arrived in hopes of recovery, others already very ill. With medical knowledge limited, the island became a place of fear, uncertainty, and overwhelming human suffering. When the outbreaks peaked, the volume of cases grew so quickly that the island struggled to keep up. People worked tirelessly to manage the situation, but the sheer volume of patients created conditions that would leave a lasting mark on the land. Modern soil analysis suggests that a significant portion of the island's top layer is composed of human ash and remains left from emergency measures taken during the crisis. Whether or not that exact percentage is accurate, historians agree the number of people who passed on the island is extraordinarily high. In the early 20th century, Poveglia was repurposed again, this time as a medical facility. Records suggest it operated with minimal oversight, leading to rumors and stories about poor conditions. Decades later, people began sharing accounts passed down through families about the island being a place of fear and mistreatment. One of the most well-known legends describes a doctor who allegedly had a breakdown while working at the facility. According to the story, he either fell or jumped from the bell tower, but some retellings claim he believed something unseen pushed him. This story is folklore, not confirmed history, but it has become deeply tied to Poveglia's haunted identity. The bell itself was removed long ago, but visitors over the years have insisted they heard a faint ringing echo across the water. Today, Poveglia is officially closed to public. Boats rarely approach it, and the structures have become unstable from age and weather. Even though entry is prohibited, a number of unauthorized explorers have made their way onto the island, and their stories add to its chilling reputation. People who visited illegally have reported experiences such as shadows shifting across hallways where there should be no movement, echoes of distant voices inside empty buildings, sudden cold spots that feel out of place in the warm Venetian climate, soft touches on the back or shoulders, the sensation of being nudged or brushed past when no one is standing nearby, and, perhaps the most startling, the sound of a bell ringing from the tower, even though no bell is inside. Some visitors describe the island as emotionally heavy, as if the air itself carries sadness. Others claim they felt watched, even outdoors in the open courtyards. Poveglia's fearsome reputation doesn't come from myths alone. It comes from centuries of real, documented hardship. The sorrow of disease, the fear of quarantine, the isolation of medical facilities, all combined in one small place. When an island absorbs that much human emotion, it's easy to understand why so many believe it remains one of the most spiritually active locations in the world. Number 4, the Stanley Hotel, Colorado, USA. Sitting high in the mountains of Estes Park, surrounded by forests and rolling hills, the Stanley Hotel looks like a setting from a classic storybook. White walls, red roof, grand staircases, and elegant halls make it seem warm and welcoming. But beauty can sometimes hide an unusual history, and the Stanley Hotel is famous for both its charm and its unexplained activity. The hotel was built in 1909 by Freeland Oscar Stanley, the inventor of the Stanley steamer automobile. He moved to the mountains on his doctor's recommendation, hoping the clean air would improve his health. Inspired by the landscape, he built a luxurious resort that would soon attract wealthy travelers, celebrities, and curious visitors. Little did he know the hotel would one day become one of the most iconic paranormal locations in the United States, and the inspiration for Stephen King's novel The Shining. King's experience in room 217 during an off-season stay sparked his imagination, and the hotel embraced its supernatural reputation ever since. Room 217 is perhaps the most well-known guest room in the entire hotel. In the early 1900s, a malfunctioning gas lamp caused an explosion, injuring a housekeeper. She survived, continued to work in hospitality, and remained respected by staff and guests. Over time, stories emerged of her spirit, continuing her duties in the room. Visitors have described lights turning on or off without being touched, luggage being found neatly arranged after being left scattered, clothing being folded on chairs, a gentle presence felt near the bed, and the silhouette of a woman, in early 1900s attire, standing quietly at the doorway. Hotel staff often note that whatever presence exists in room 217 seems protective, orderly, and non-threatening, as though someone simply wants to keep things tidy. Other parts of the hotel have their own stories. Guests walking down the grand staircase have reported a shadow figure descending ahead of them, soft footsteps echoing when the halls are empty, sudden feelings of being observed from the balcony. The ballroom is another hotspot. People claim to hear the faint sound of a piano being played, even though no one is seated at the instrument. Photographs taken during events sometimes show unexplained shapes, faint, transparent figures dressed in Victorian clothing. Unlike some historical locations that distance themselves from paranormal stories, the Stanley Hotel welcomes them. It offers guided tours, after-dark experiences, and historical walkthroughs focused on both the real and supernatural heritage of the building. Many visitors say the hotel's atmosphere feels alive, as if past guests still wander the halls, enjoying the music, the mountain air, and the timeless elegance of place. What makes the Stanley Hotel unique is how it blends warmth with mystery. It isn't a place of fear, but a place of curiosity, where people come hoping to experience something extraordinary. Some leave with photos, others leave with stories, but almost everyone leaves with the same feeling, that the Stanley Hotel has more guests than the ones you can see. And that brings us to the end of today's journey into the shadows. These places may be scattered across the world, but they share one thing in common. The past refuses to stay buried. Whether the stories are born from tragedy, fear, or something we still can't explain, they continue to echo through time, waiting for the next person brave enough to listen. If you enjoyed exploring these haunted locations and want to dive even deeper into the unknown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another trip into the darker corners of history. Got a haunted place you think deserves its own episode? Drop in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and remember, some doors once opened can never be closed. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and stay in the light.